Hey, I'm Chris Velasco, Senior Mobile Editor at Engadget. We're coming at you from the Google Pixel 2 launch event here in San Francisco. There's a lot going on. There's a ton of journalists and a ton of people clamoring to see these new devices, and frankly, so am I. So let's go take a closer look. A lot to talk about this device, starting with what we're seeing right up front. This is a 6-inch diagonal POLED display running at Quad HD. It's a beautiful panel. I've noticed that you do, in addition to having very little bezels on the side, you do have the curves down at the bottom that kind of give this a very LG G6 or V30 kind of feel, which makes sense considering LG was supposedly the hardware manufacturer that made this device after Google had designed it. We've not been able to confirm that. No one at Google has said anything about it, but there you go. I do want to point out that this body is incredible. So this is built of an aluminum that has been treated to kind of feel like a very sturdy polycarbonate. This is the two-tone finish. We've got a glass window up here to allow for better propagation of your wireless signal, so your LTE, your Wi-Fi should work super nicely. And just look how striking that is, that beautiful white aluminum, which again, does not feel like aluminum at all. The black, and then you've got that orange accent right on the side for a pop-up color. It feels fun, and a little more fun than, I would say, the red dot of the Apple Watch Series 3 does. The interesting thing about the Google Pixel 2 XL, and the Pixel 2 for that matter, is the fact that it does feel like a device that hardware doesn't really tell the full story. So this thing does run very quickly thanks to the Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 chipset with 4 gigabytes of RAM inside. I've got to point out, this is not an 836. Those rumors of Google and their hardware partner using an 836 to bring next generation control to this device were untrue, but that said, we are looking at fully capable 2017 levels of flagship power. I'm swiping in and out of apps. No one has any games on here because Google has these under lock and key, but everything does run incredibly fast. Should also point out that this device uses what Google refers to as Active Edge, which is very highly reminiscent of HTC's EdgeSense technology. So there are pressure sensors built into the bottom half of this phone. So like give it a quick squeeze, activates Google Assistant. It does seem to work very well, but what's really interesting and what I'm really curious to see is whether or not this can actually be remapped. If I can use that squeeze to launch, say, the camera or something else, that would be a very nice touch. Samsung did not do that with Bixby and its Bixby keys, so I'm hoping Google takes a bit more of an open approach there. This does run Android 8.0 Oreo with a customized Pixel launcher on top. And just to run really quickly through a couple of the new software flourishes, we have a widget up top that kind of gives you your day at a glance. The feature is, I believe, literally called At a Glance. If we jump in there, we can take a look at the preferences, and we'll show you your calendar events, traffic, and flight information, which is a nice touch. Glad to see Google finally making use out of that information that it's always displayed at the top of its Pixel phones. Then at the bottom, interestingly enough, we've got the Google search bar, which obviously used to live right at the top of the display. It's baked into the dock itself, and when you sort of launch that, pull that up, you've got your very standard Android Oreo launcher. It does run very quickly, but again, that doesn't really tell the whole story. The ability for Google to sort of build its machine learning technology really into the fabric of this device has gone a long way, and I think a great example of that is in the camera. So really quick, there is a 12 megapixel camera here above the pixel imprint fingerprint sensor, which does seem to work very quickly. So I'm not the best photographer, and this is definitely not the best scenario, but took a picture that was incredibly fast. You'll notice it's processing right there, and that was done in just a moment. So Google's machine learning is basically taking multiple photos at once, combining them into what it believes is the best shot, and considering the circumstances, considering where we are right now, we're getting a lot of detail, we're getting a lot of clarity here. I'm really looking forward to playing with this more just because this is what DxOMark has said is the best smartphone camera out there. But here's another beautiful thing about this camera. So let's take a photo of my watch here. Boom, done. It does the quick processing. Again, takes a pretty solid photo for what is actually happening here. But we do have that tiny icon right there that'll activate Google Lens, which uses Google's Google's machine learning technology again to identify what's in the photo and to kind of give you contextually sensitive information about it. So give that a tap. It should identify this as an Apple Watch. Give it a second without internet, and yes, it is incorrectly identified as the Series 2, but there's literally no way for Google to have told that this is Series 3 because it can't see the red dot on the side. That worked very quickly, and I gotta say, much more accurately than Samsung's Bixby Vision did. So really I cannot overstate how exciting a device like this feels. One more thing I should point out, which you're not going to be able to notice, there is a SIM card slot here on the side. It does take a standard nano SIM, but it does also have an eSIM inside. So if you're a Project Pi subscriber, we're hearing T-Mobile might also support this in short order as well. You'll be able to activate this phone on the network and manage your plan, your features, and everything directly from the device without having to switch your SIM card in and out. It is nice that you still have that standard slot though, because if you do travel, you're going to want that flexibility. You can throw in something wherever you happen to be. Again, I really can't overstate that this feels like a special device. It feels, this is going to sound a little cheesy, like Google's software has been given a very specific physical form. The hardware is exactly what you'd expect from a 2017 flagship device, but it's the super tight integration between Google's software, Google's core software technologies, and these pretty common parts that help the Google Pixel 2 XL feel like a whole lot more than the sum of its parts. That was our first look at the Pixel 2 XL. We're going to come back with a lot more very soon, so stay tuned.